On your screen now, you should see a brief PowerPoint slide. What I want to share is that on April 2nd, so on Thursday, less than a week ago, the California Air Resources Board posted a 15-day comment period on this regulation. That comment period will end April 17th. This is likely the last opportunity the public will have to weigh in on these regulations. This mandates a conversion over time to 100% ZEV for all state and local medium and heavy duty vehicles. That's class 2B and above, which is 8,500 pounds and up. You'll see a few pictures of those types of vehicles here on your screen. You can click on the link there at the bottom of the screen or navigate to that link and you'll see more pictures that we've put up. This regulation was initially intended to apply to all private sector fleets. However, on September 25th, CARB passed a resolution that repealed that for private sector fleets and delayed in part for public sector fleets, leading to this 15-day comment period that's now open. Shortly thereafter, CSDA, together with our partners at cities and counties, proposed amendments to CARB, submitted a letter. This is the amendment. Essentially, we were asking that all vehicles that are reasonably anticipated to respond to emergency situations receive a full exclusion, similar to how CARB had excluded snow removal vehicles and historical vehicles and a few other types of vehicles. That's what we've been asking for. Unfortunately, this 15-day amendment does not comply with that, does not meet our needs. And it did do a few things, however. It created a little bit of flexibility to transition between CARB's two methods for transitioning to 100% ZEV. What it did was there's basically a purchase schedule, which requires you to purchase on a go-forward basis, only ZEV. And then there's a milestone schedule that over time requires certain types of vehicles and certain pots to reach certain percentages of your total fleet. It did also create a few minor exemptions in certain circumstances. However, for each of those exemptions, you need to apply every year to CARB and wait for them to approve that. Also, all of those exemptions expire in 2030, or at least the vast majority of them do. Interestingly, they did add what they called a resiliency exemption, acknowledging that these ZEV vehicles are less resilient than the vehicles that we're using today, to the extent that you can even find them. That resiliency exemption, however, as you'll hear, is capped at 25%. So it limited resiliency of our fleets, narrowed it down 75% to what we currently have. And then all authority was vested into the executive officer to evaluate the exemptions, including the potential existence if there are fast chargers in 2030, which we don't anticipate there will be. And if they were, we anticipate would be insufficient. So briefly, I'll just say this resiliency exemption is basically for the types of concerns that we've raised. However, as you'll see during these sorts of emergency situations, we don't need 25% of our fleets. We actually need more than 100% of our fleets in these circumstances, and you're going to hear real life circumstances. Resiliency also cannot exceed the number of ZEVs in the fleet, but most importantly, it's that 25% cap that really just makes it unworkable for our members, for the local service specialists serving our state.